Hello, this is DrSayus. Welcome to my Halo the Master Chief Collection review. To review this game, I'm going to go through each of the games in the remake and give it an overall score at the end. So I'll start with Halo 1. Halo 1 and Halo 2, by the way, they're both 1080p and 60 frames per second, which is great. It's what you would expect on the Xbox One. There's two different viewing modes when you're playing the game. There's the updated graphics from the Xbox One, and they're very pretty. There's also the original graphics of the game, but it's in widescreen aspect ratio, so it actually looks a bit better than what you'd be playing it on, say, an original Xbox. I actually prefer the original graphics better because everything stands out a lot more. The colors don't mesh together. Like, it's easier to spot enemies and it's easier on the eyes as well, but the new graphics are obviously more impressive, so it's really a personal preference. I like switching between the two graphics just to see what does this area look like with the old graphics, or what does this area look like with the new graphics. It's quite interesting. It's not just one's better than the other, they're different graphical styles, because when you're looking at, say, the weapon, the Needler, the new graphics have the pink spikes that you'd expect, but when you go to the old graphics, they're see-through, which is only in Halo 1, I believe. Halo 1 has very boxy maze areas, usually, that you get once you go to a new area. You get a swarm of enemies that come down and you have to defeat them all before you can go to the next area. It's easy to get lost in these areas. To make matters worse, in Halo 1 there's no map or reticle to tell you where to go. There's no grenade warnings either, so a lot of times someone would just throw a grenade and I would die if I'd even known that they did that. The story's pretty confusing, to be honest. I couldn't really follow it very well. It's kind of generic and doesn't really keep your attention, so I can't really tell you what the story's about, to be honest. They're fighting aliens, that's it basically. There's this really annoying feature in all the games. It's particularly obnoxious in the first game, where you'll see a terminal and you go, okay, I'm gonna press this button because you think that's what you're supposed to do, and you click on it and it takes you outside the game onto an app on the Xbox One telling you to buy DLC. It was pretty obnoxious. It happened to me a few times, and when you click on it you have to wait like a good minute or two. It just was pretty irritating. That's not great. Once you know what they are, you can avoid them, but sometimes it's a bit difficult because they look similar to a terminal you'd actually press in a game. There's a glitch in the game where the character Keys was missing. Me and my brother, who was playing the game with me, we looked all around the level multiple times and we couldn't see him. After about 2 hours wasted on that, we turned the game off and turned it on, and of course we were able to do the level no problem, so just be aware there's an odd glitch like that. There's a lot of open empty areas in this game with similar colors. They obviously didn't perfect Halo 1 like they did to the newer games. The levels also use the same assets over and over again. The flood level in particular is very guilty of this, because you're going through the flood level and you go, oh wait, were we not already here? That deja vu happens multiple times. Like, you actually think you're going the wrong way or something, but no, that level, you just keep going through the same looking areas and eventually you'll get to the end, but it's very strange. They could have just shortened the level. It's like they were trying to pad out that level as long as they could, just to extend the length of the game, but I think it would have been better if they had just condensed it, you know, like made it more original. In Halo 1, there's very limited long-range weapons. You don't actually really get any long-range weapons in Halo 1, so you're really reliant on short-range battles, which probably makes it the most difficult game out of all the Halos, because you don't have that option to like hang back and snipe. You have to get in close or mid-range and use your instincts and defeat the enemies, and of course, since it's Halo 1, you have less variety of weapons to use at your arsenal. The Needler was almost useless in this game, particularly since you got the Jackals and they just have a shield and you can't even use it against the Jackals, to be honest. The only ones you can use it against, I think, are the Grunts and the Elites. The Grunts, you can take them out pretty quickly with any weapon, so there's no point using a Needler to like hit them with needles and then they explode. Moving on to Halo 2, this is my personal favourite game. I believe it improves on everything on Halo 1. There's more weapons, there's more vehicles, the levels are a lot more diverse. It also introduces dual wielding, so you can dual wield guns like, say, 2 plasma pistols or a human machine gun and alien plasma rifle. You can mix and match all sorts of combinations. It can be pretty effective. destructive. In this game, some levels you'll play as the Chief, some levels you'll play as the Arbiter. They both play mostly the same. The only difference is the Chief has a flashlight and the Arbiter can go invisible. Obviously the Chief drew the short end of the straw there. It's an emotional driven story. It had me a lot more invested than Halo 1 did. I can see why when I was a kid I got bored of Halo 1 very quickly and just skipped to Halo 2. The music can sometimes drown the chatter in the actual story, or like when you're doing a level and somebody's talking and the theatrical music just plays. The two graphical modes, the original, the music's a bit different. There's like a section in Halo 2 where I think it's Breaking Benjamin where they sing Only the Strongest Will Survive. That's the original, but when you switch to the newer graphics, it has this more generic electrical guitar theme. They're both great, but I like the Breaking Benjamin song personally. I suppose that adds more replay value, doesn't it? You can choose what song you want to listen to. I noticed in this game in particular, I'm sure it happens in Halo 1 as well, there's a frame rate hit with too many enemies, but if you switch to the old graphics, there's no frame rate hit at all. So I'm guessing because the graphics are so good that it's taking a hit on the frame rate, if that happens to switch to the old graphics and then when all the enemies are gone to switch back to the new graphics, it's a minor inconvenience really. In the story, I found the Covenant were very self-destructive. I'm not going to spoil the story, but it was a bit daft. It was emotionally driven, but at the same time the Covenant were just pretty stupid at times. If they hadn't fought against each other, they probably would have defeated the humans. I guess the good guys have to win somehow. Speaking of which, the ending of the game was very low-key. It's like they were just preparing it for a new sequel rather than like doing a solid ending. So that was a bit of a weak point, but I suppose the ending doesn't really matter too much in a video game, does it really? Now we're on to Halo 3, which I know is a lot of people's favourite. In this game, the story is the Chief gets woken up by Sergeant Major, and I believe it's like the aliens are attacking Earth. The Arbiter's on Earth as well, so you and the Arbiter are together the whole game. If you're playing co-op, one person's a Master Chief and the other person's the Arbiter. I think the Arbiter loses his invisible abilities. I think he gets a shitty flashlight. In this game, instead of elites, you're fighting brutes. I thought this was a bit lazy of them. They only used the 360 game's graphics instead of actually updating it, so it's only in 640p, and it is a bit jarring when you play the first two games and then go back to this. They probably thought, oh, it's kind of HD console, we can get away with it, but it's like, no, just update the graphics. And it's only in 30 frames per second. It's not even full screen. There's a difference in the guns as well, such as the plasma pistol and the pistol. They introduced the gravity hammer. I think they weakened the energy sword from the second game and they like made the gravity hammer really strong. There's also spike grenades, and they're alright. The new things in this game are a lot more subtle, like they don't ruin the game. There's a lot of backtracking at the base level where you're going back and forth a lot. Some of the characters look a bit different, like the Prophet and Keys both look very different. If you're looking at the new graphics and you look at the Prophet in this one, it's like, what the hell? And then you finally have Halo 4, which was a controversial game in the series because it was a reboot. The Master Chief gets woken up after 4 years in cryptogenic sleep. There's new enemies, there's like a new Covenant and Prometheans. The new weapons in the game are very high tech. I know a lot of people complained that these weapons were a lot like the weapons in Call of Duty. It is very COD inspired, the way you have the sprint and then the grenade warnings in Call of Duty. This one looks a lot more like an Xbox One game. This was released at the end of the 360 cycle, so it uses a lot of graphical tricks of the 360, so it does look like it could have been on the Xbox One, which I like. They actually look like real people, unlike Halo 3, where they look kind of more like mannequins. I actually like Halo 4 better than Halo 3. I'm probably the minority on that. I actually quite enjoyed that game. What would I give the Halo Master Chief Collection? Of course, I'll give it a S rank. You're getting 4 games in one here for a low price. It's probably my favorite game on the friggin' console. You're getting like 4 great games. One of them is like one of my favorite shooter games of all time, Halo 2. Of course, if you haven't got it, go out and get it on PC, Xbox One, whatever. Hello guys, hope you're having a fantastic day. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more videos. Bye!